This week, the world said goodbye to Dolly Parton. But before we get to the song she called the most important thing she ever wrote, the one that made grown men cry in concert halls, we need to talk about the songs that built her into a legend.
Bittersweet memory.
One of them, she turned down Elvis Presley to keep. Another one, she wrote using her fingernails as a drum. Stick around, because the story behind her most personal song might be the most emotional thing you watch all week.
My coat of many colors, my mama made for me.
Over almost 7 decades, she wrote more than 3,000 songs. Today, we're honoring 7 that defined her, from the heartbreak to the healing to the one true story that started it all.
Jolene, Jolene, Jolene.
Number 7, 2 Doors Down, 1977. Picture this. You just got dumped, and through the wall you can hear a party going on 2 doors down. Laughing, music, people having the time of their lives. That's the setup behind this song, and it's classic Dolly. Most singers would have written something sad. Dolly wrote something you could dance to. The song shot straight to number 1 on the country charts. But what made it special wasn't the chart position, it was the attitude behind it. Dolly had a gift most songwriters never find. She could take real pain and turn it into something that made people want to get up and move. That's not just songwriting, that's survival with a smile on it. She once said, heartbreak never got the last word in her life, the music did. And that mindset carried her through every setback that came next. Fun fact, 2 Doors Down was originally written as the B-side to a completely different single. It only became a hit after radio DJs flipped the record over and started playing it instead. Sometimes the best songs sneak in through the back door. Number 6, Here You Come Again, 1977.
Just like you've done before, and you wrap my heart round your...
By the mid-70s, Dolly Parton had already proven she could dominate country radio. But this next song did something bigger. It introduced her to the entire world. Here You Come Again wasn't written by Dolly at all. It came from 2 outside songwriters, and at first she almost said no to it. It didn't sound like her. She recorded it anyway, and it became her first single to cross over onto the pop charts, introducing millions of new fans to a voice they'd never heard before.
Picking me up so that all I really know is here you come again.
It also won her a Grammy. This was the moment Dolly Parton stopped being just a country star and started becoming a household name. But crossing over came with a price. Some in the country music world accused her of selling out, of chasing pop fame instead of staying true to her roots. Dolly's answer was simple, and it says everything about who she was.
Filling up my senses, here you come again.
Coming up, we've got the song she wrote using nothing but her own fingernails, and it became one of the biggest feminist anthems in American history. But first, let's talk about crossing over, and why Dolly never once apologized for it.
So that all I really know is here you come again.
Number 5, 9 to 5, 1980.
9 to 5, for service and devotion you would.
Dolly's answer to her critics was this. She'd wear her roots proudly, on her own terms, and nothing proved that more than 9 to 5.
In the same boat with a lot of your friends, waiting for the day your ship will come in and the tide's gonna turn.
Written for the movie of the same name, this song was Dolly's first real leading role in Hollywood, and she didn't just star in the film, she wrote its entire theme song.
Where sometimes that man is out to get me.
Here's the detail that always gets people. Dolly came up with the rhythm of the song by tapping her long acrylic nails together like a typewriter. That clicking sound became the heartbeat of the entire track. It hit #1 on both the country and pop charts, and it earned her an Academy Award nomination for Best Original Song.
Would deserve a fair promotion, want to move ahead, but the boss won't.
More than that, though, 9 to 5 became an anthem for working women everywhere, all about being underpaid, underestimated, and done staying quiet about it. 40 years later, it's still playing in offices and rallies around the world. Some studio executives actually wanted to cut the fingernail percussion from the final mix, calling it unprofessional. Dolly refused. She said it was the whole point of the song. She was right. And it's now one of the most recognizable intros in music history. Number 4, Islands in the Stream, 1983.
That is what we are, no one in between.
Not every legendary song starts out as the song we know. Islands in the Stream was actually written by the Bee Gees, and it was almost handed off to Marvin Gaye as an R&B track.
Hold me closer and I feel no pain every beat of my heart.
Instead, it landed with country star Kenny Rogers, who had one condition before he'd record it. He wanted Dolly Parton on the mic with him.
I can't live without you if the love was gone.
The chemistry between Dolly and Kenny was instant, and it shows in every second of the recording. The song shot to #1, and it turned into one of the most beloved duets in music history. But it also became something more, the start of a decades-long friendship that lasted until Kenny's passing in 2020.
Nothing if you got no one and you just walk in the night, just slow.
Dolly later said losing Kenny felt like losing a piece of her own heart. When she sang this song after his death, audiences said you could hear the grief in every note.
We got no doubt, too deep in love and we got nowhere.
We're halfway through, and we haven't even gotten to her biggest hit yet. Up next, the song she wrote in one night. That became one of the most sung, most stolen, and most misunderstood songs in country history.
If the love was gone, everything means nothing if you got.
Number 3, Jolene, 1973.
Jolene, 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 please.
Every songwriter dreams of writing something timeless. Dolly did it almost by accident. Jolene was inspired by two things happening in her life at once.
Please don't take him just because you can.
A red-haired bank teller, who Dolly noticed was a little too friendly with her husband, Carl.
This is a true story for those of you that don't know. I wrote this song about 20 years ago about this woman down in Nashville that worked at the bank. She was trying to take care of my husband while I was out on the road. Well, that didn't go over too big with me. I fought that red-headed woman like a wildcat. She jerked my wig off and almost beat me to death with it. But I kept my husband. I got that sucker home and I beat the tar out of him.
And a young fan who approached her at a concert and asked for an autograph, giving Dolly the name that would become one of the most famous in music.
I understand how you could easily take my man, but you don't know what he means to me.
The song is barely 2.5 minutes long, but it carries an entire story. A woman begging another woman not to take the man she loves, without a shred of anger, only fear and desperation.
Crying when he calls her name, Jolene.
That vulnerability is what made it last. It's been covered more than any other song Dolly ever wrote, by artists across every genre imaginable, from rock to pop to hip-hop. But here's what people forget. Dolly never earned royalties the way she should have from most of those covers, because of how publishing deals worked decades ago. She said later in life that watching Jolene become bigger than her own name never bothered her. She said the song wasn't really hers anymore. It belonged to everybody who ever felt scared of losing someone they loved. Fun fact, Dolly wrote both Jolene and our next song, one of the biggest ballads of the 20th century, on the very same night. Two of her most iconic songs, born hours apart. Number 2, I Will Always Love You, 1974.
So I'll go, but I know.
This is the song that shows exactly who Dolly Parton was. Talented, but also fiercely in control of her own career. She wrote it as a goodbye to her mentor, Porter Wagoner, when she made the difficult decision to leave his television show and go out on her own. It wasn't written as a love song between romantic partners. It was written as a thank you and a goodbye, all at once.
Please don't cry, 'cause we both know.
Here's the part of the story that still shocks people. Elvis Presley wanted to record this song. That would have meant massive exposure and a huge payday. But Elvis's manager insisted on taking half of the publishing rights, as was standard practice at the time. Dolly said no. She turned down the king of rock and roll to protect a song she'd written from the heart. That decision paid off in a way nobody could have predicted. In 1992, Whitney Houston recorded her own version for the film The Bodyguard. It became one of the best-selling singles in music history.
Goodbye, please don't.
And because Dolly had held on to her rights all those years earlier, that one decision quietly made her one of the wealthiest songwriters in the world. Before we get to number 1, there's something you should know. Dolly Parton called this next song the most important thing she ever wrote, and she said writing it felt less like songwriting and more like reliving one of the hardest days of her childhood.
Am taking with me.
Number 1, Coat of Many Colors, 1971.
Mama sewed the rags together, sewing every piece with love.
Dolly Parton grew up in a one-room cabin in the mountains of Tennessee, the fourth of 12 children. Her family had almost nothing. One winter, her mother sewed her a coat from a box of donated fabric scraps, telling her the story of Joseph's coat of many colors from the Bible while she stitched it together, patch by patch.
And Mama blessed it with a kiss. My coat of many.
Dolly wore that coat to school proudly, thinking it made her special. Instead, the other kids laughed at her and made fun of her for wearing rags. She went home in tears.
My mama made for me, so with patches on.
Decades later, as a grown woman with more money than she ever imagined as a child, Dolly sat down and wrote the entire song in the time it takes to boil an egg.
Perhaps this coat will bring you good luck and happiness.
She said the words had been sitting inside her for years, just waiting to come out. Dolly called it the most important song she ever wrote. Not her biggest hit, not her most covered, but the truest one. It wasn't about fame or heartbreak. It was about a mother's love and about learning that being different isn't something to be ashamed of.
But they didn't understand it, and I tried to.
In interviews, she said that Coat taught her that being poor in money is nothing compared to being poor in love, and her family, despite having nothing, had that in abundance.
As I could be in my coat of many colors.
That lesson followed her through every triumph in her career. Through the record deals, the movie roles, the theme park she built to give jobs back to the community that raised her, and the Imagination Library that has now put free books into the hands of millions of children around the world.
I know we had no money, but I was rich as I could be. And
everything Dolly Parton built came back, in some way, to that one cold morning and a coat made of rags. She always said she wanted to be remembered not for being famous, but for helping people, and for staying exactly who she was, no matter how big she became.
my coat of many colors, my mama made for me.
This week, the world lost the woman in that coat. But the song she wrote about it will keep telling her story for as long as people are willing to listen.
Hurried off to school just to find the children laughing